Hey, what's going on, guys? So, I want to talk about something today that's kind of close to my heart when it comes to collecting stuff, and that's guidebooks. And there are guidebooks aplenty out there. The three main big kind of companies, right? Prima Games, Brady Games, and then of course like Official, which usually is like Nintendo Power or something. And these companies have made guidebooks for years and years and years. And I have quite a collection of guidebooks, but all guidebooks are not created equal. So I want to go through and kind of show like the history of some of these guidebooks, where they're at, where they've been, what you see, how they've evolved over time. And I have a lot of examples to choose from. I'm only going to kind of cherry pick a couple, but I really kind of want to dive into this today because, man, when it comes to guidebooks, there's a lot of variation. Some stuff's awesome, some stuff is not so awesome. And one company that I really can't wait to talk about really stands out to me as my just far and above favorite. Hopefully you guys agree, but let's go on this journey together and let's talk about some video game guidebooks. Hey, before we get into the cool stuff, I do want to give a quick shout out to, and I know everyone's going to say it's game FAQs, but game facts. Man, my middle school days, elementary school days, this was my guidebooks. I, did not have a lot of money growing up. To just go out and buy, books for games that I may or may not have or maybe rented. And, man, GameFAQs was the spot. I always loved how usually the intro was a big printed crazy, art made out of, slashes and stuff, for the title. But man, shout out to those guys because that was like an art form back in the day. People spent a lot of time making these guides and then making them really readable. And like I said, having the cool cover on them. It was a thing. You had to be there for it. Early internet kind of thing. And I even find myself Googling stuff on GameFAQs now. So yeah, just quick shout out. But anyway, on to the guides. So I wanted to start with something kind of, we're going to go back in time, right? We're going to start from way back and kind of make our way towards, as modern as you kind of can get. But let's start off with these kind of books. This is from Prima, and we'll get to Prima later on because Prima is one of what I think is kind of the big three companies. But they would come out with books like this that just have a crap ton of games, and it'll just go over a bunch of stuff for those games. So this is the Sega CD one, right? Official Sega CD game secrets, and it has a big list of games on the back. But basically, you'd go through a book like this, and Chapter 12, Lethal Enforcers, and it just has a bunch of little information, some cool stuff here and there. Tells you general strategies about the game itself, black and white screenshots. I mean, it's like a bunch of mini guides in one. And if you played the Sega CD, because it was one of the first kind of CD-based consoles and FMVs were a big thing, a lot of these games are shorter, so you can really cram a lot of games into a book like this. I actually have 3 or 4 of these. I have a Sega one, Sega CD one, an NES one. But I mean, you kind of go through and it's like a smorgasbord of stuff. I mean, you got Echo the Dolphin. What's going on? We were just swimming along the sea, happy as a dolphin. I mean, it's like a whole thing. Strategy session, general strategies, under caves. This is it, right? This is the guide for Echo the Dolphin. I mean, how much do you have Echo related? Here you go. That's a different game. Hold on. Let's just kind of see. Does it do the whole game, or is it just a section? Let's find out. Oh, look, they even have codes, passwords. Yeah, it's the whole game. It literally goes all the way to the final boss. And look, and then it even has all the passwords for it. I mean, these things are kind of wild. Like I said, I kind of wanted to group this by itself because it's its own thing. Quality is, it's all right. This thing was probably pretty cheap back in the day. I don't know if there's a price on it or anything. Yeah. Something back here, $4 shipping. It looks like you can order other books from them. Yeah, I mean, look, they're $20 each. Computer game books, $20 each. Nintendo Secrets, Volume 1, 2, 3, and 4, $12.95 each. Zelda: A Link to the Past game secrets, $12.95. I mean, this is something you'd probably grab from Books A Million. They probably had a whole shelf of these things. But yeah, I mean, it's a good way to kind of get a lot of bang for your buck. I mean, obviously, this one was probably one of these $12.95 books, and it has, at least 20-something games, 27, 28 games in here. I mean, it might even have a table of contents, but it's a pretty good bit. Yeah, here we go. It has 27 games. So 27 games, like, beat with black and white pictures and little strategies. Pretty neat concept, but let's go into kind of the start of the guidebooks. Now, this guidebook is something. I got this at a convention. I had never seen it before, and man, this is what I would call a bad guidebook. It's not bad. Like, it's actually, informationally speaking, it's great. But as a guidebook, oh, you'll see later on what I'm getting at. It's just not fun. So it's Final Fantasy 3, which in America was Final Fantasy 6, and this is from Prima. And this was a big deal. I have a couple like this, but you know, they like to say unauthorized, unlicensed, uncensored, underground, and unofficial. Like, oh hell yeah, look at all this attitude, bro. Unauthorized, but not unnecessary. Whoa, you know, like freaking super cool. But look how boring this book is. It's literally just like numbers and stuff. I mean, there are some pictures, right? But my God, this book is literally like a Dungeons and Dragons stat book. There's nothing to, I mean, it's a lot. It's very informationally awesome. I mean, look, they have a whole, I mean, someone spent time here. Someone spent real time here typing all this stuff up, telling you what the commands are, how magic works, how to go shopping, what these abilities are, character stuff. I mean, this informationally is amazing. But my God, this is a boring book to look at. Pictures are like, obviously someone somehow took some kind of really poor shots in black and white, mega saturated, and pasted them in. They look real bad. I mean, this is not a book, like I said, that is fun. And like, the thing is like, you know, the reason I'm giving this so much shit is because there are books that came out before this that are amazing to look at, like essentially art. You know, and I know it's an RPG, so there's a lot of numbers, there's a lot of crunching, there's a lot of facts, there's a lot of stuff. But I mean, come on, man, look at this. I just flipped through like 100 pages of like Necromancer, 25 hit points, magical points 900. Like, come on, who has time to read? Like, oh my God, this is just, like I said, useful book, but very not fun. Not a fun book. I mean, look at this map. You know, hey, I'm impressed you made that. Cool. But come on, man. Like, wow. You know, someone drew this with some kind of like 1990s, you know, computer, like Vectrex ass, you know, program. And that's neat. But, you know, there's so many better ways to do it. And let's look at something else of this time period that is a better example. So check this out, right? Secrets of Mana, you know, so it's another Squaresoft game, just like what we just looked at, but it's also Prima, right? Just like we just looked at. Super Nintendo. So this is like the same time period. And look at this book. Look what's going on here. Oh my God. I mean, like this person, Russell de Maria, come on. Give this man a raise, because this is amazing. I mean, they really go through big explanations, big maps, zoomed out, right? So if you've ever played these games, right, usually the map's zoomed in, so you don't know what's around the corner. And then everything has, like, information, right? Like, one, you know, like, what goes to what? What is that? Torch, switch. You know, what are these things? This door goes to that staircase. That goes to here. I mean, it goes through everything. It goes by chapter and all sorts of stuff. And now here's the cool one, right? Does it say it on the front? Yeah, it does. Full color maps inside. So full color maps inside, where the hell are they, right? I believe it is in the dead middle. Yep. So you get to the middle and, you know, I mean, once again, it's in the 90s. So, you know, forgive the level of printing the stuff out. But look at this. All the bosses are, you know, in here. The maps are in color. You can easily follow the letters around. It's basically the same maps you were looking at, but in color. Granted, it's only a few pages in the middle, But how cool is this? You know, you can go back to these maps from the rest of the book and check them out and go through. But it's the same maps you saw. They got cool weapon art. I mean, this stuff is really neat. So this book, it's like way better than that other one. You know what I mean? And, you know, you knew it's the same company, but you can tell that there's variation. You know, you get quality differences from back in the day, just like games. Now, the problem with games, right, back in the day, and which is why rental stores were so cool, is you couldn't find out the quality difference until you got home and popped it in. This, you're on the shelf. So, you know, you walk up and you see this book, and then you see this old dusty book, and you crack them both open, and you're like, wow, what's more fun? This or, you know, this? I mean, you know which one you're gonna grab. I mean, even the covers. I mean, like, if you were to see this, if you played Final Fantasy VI and you were to see this, does this say anything? Does this say, like, this doesn't even look like the Enhancer sword, which is like the only thing I could see this maybe trying to be. It's just a generic dragon sword thing. I mean, big difference, huge difference. But that said, that's what I'm kind of saying here. It was the Wild West back then about what was being made. So we talked about Prima, right? Let's talk about actual Nintendo Power. Like, this is from Nintendo. Now, Nintendo Power, a lot of people you're gonna know, is a magazine, and the magazines kind of have like mini guides in them, but they also did full-on guides. And I have plenty of examples, but you know, I don't want this video to go on forever. So this one is literally Mario 3. Think about when Mario 3 came out. I mean, this is old, but this guide is amazing. First off, full color. I mean, full color. But check it out. You played Mario, right? You know, side scrolling. So how could you make a guide for that? First off, you know, a lot of cool information, enemies, how to beat them, this, that, and the other. The matching game, you know, just a lot of just stuff. But this is the guide. How amazing is this? You could literally open this up and just print these bad boys. But check it out. Like I was saying, it's the whole level. That's how they did it. So World 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3. I mean, you start out, it shows you what is in what boxes, how to get like that box. I mean, I know today, everyone who's watching this video anyway has likely played this game. And you know you can jump on the turtle and kick that box, and that's how you get the leaf. But I mean, back here, you know, picking up and throwing the shells wasn't a thing. Like, you could hit them in the original game, but I don't believe you could pick them up. But either way, you know, you definitely wasn't like, hey, let's go hit it into a box. And, you know, something so common today, back in this time, was not common. How to jump the secret block that takes you to the secret coin area. Oh, there's a 1-up up there. I mean, nowadays, everyone knows you can run, fly up, and get the 1-up. But I mean, you probably didn't know that before. You probably warped up, even if you found that, you probably warped up here and just got the coins and got to the end. You had no idea that that was up there. The whistle, how to find the first whistle. I mean, stuff that just feels like common knowledge. And it's every level. Dude, like, this is the coolest thing. I mean, literally, it's like, here's how you start the level, and there's the end. It's the full thing. And then there's cool facts along the way. I mean, this was made amazingly. And like I said earlier, you could essentially print this. Like, you could cut out a page and hang this on the wall as art. Each world has its own cool little intro screen. I mean, it's freaking amazing. Like, this is such a cool guidebook. I personally love this one. This is a great example of Nintendo Power going above and beyond. But I mean, let me know what you guys think about this one specifically, because I mean, this is a book. God, the tank levels. This is a book that's just really, really like out of control awesome. This is a company you probably haven't heard of, and I will say that this is also a guidebook that you probably are like, why the hell would I have a guidebook for a fighting game? This book is way cooler than it deserves to be. So this is Game Pro. This is Street Fighter II, the official strategy, authorized by Capcom, Champion Edition for the Super Nintendo. Now, first off, let me just say, full color, right? Super cool. But the way they did this book is awesome. And let me just show you an example. Let's go to a character. I mean, basically, they split them up by character. So we'll just start brand new. Guile, right? So Guile, animation showcase. They show you his stance, his winning stuff, win, lose, draw, block, dizzy, shock therapy, knockout. Basically all the art. They have a whole little personality profile, all of his statistics, when was he born, his height, his weight, all sorts of just really cool stuff. Battle quotes, like for when you win. And of course, like the really bad Super Nintendo art. But then they have this, where they show you like more animations, all of his like kind of different like fierce, strong jab, standing close, ducking, jumping towards, the percentage of damage they do, right? Special attacks, so like special attacks, throws, all the different stuff, how much damage they do. Like I think even has, combos, special techniques like Sonic Boom, and all this. I mean, like it's like this is the breakdown before breakdowns were a thing. And it's crazy to me that a book like this existed. And they have it for every single character, right, in the game. But that's not all. Then you go through and it says versus each character what you should do versus them, and then what you should do versus the bonus stage. The bonus stage is, rather. But I mean, like, you know, as an example, okay, versus Ken. Stop Ken's fireballs with sonic booms, then use a spinning back fist to make him pay the price for of Street Fighter technique ignorance. Use the flash kick to counter the dragon punch. I mean, like, it's so neat. Like, this book is so cool, because, like, you know, this is before, like, nowadays with Evo and the fighting scene, right? There's, like, all this stuff is, like, known, or there's strategies. But, like, this was, like, you know, in the 90s, like, hey man, you're playing as Ken, and you're playing as Ken versus E Honda. You need to throw fireballs to give him a hot foot, and when he leaps away, hit him with a fierce dragon punch. Oh, and what is that gonna do? Well, that's gonna do whatever percent damage. I mean, like, this is amazing, and the art is just so bad. I love it. But yeah, this is a book that really stood out to me. Like I said, Game Pro is another cool one, but now we need to move on to a different company. So the last kind of big company that kind of was around at the time, like Prima Games and what have you, is Brady Games. And I mean, their guidebooks are pretty nice. This is a little bit newer. You know, this was more, I would call it modern, but you know, what the heck is this even? Want some Botox? I would call this modern. But you know, this BioShock's like 20 something years old now, but you know, all color. This was that generation, right? Like the 90s, or not 90s, the 2000s. But you know, these usually came with some kind of fold out poster. Like this one looks like it has a poster of a Big Daddy in it. And yeah, I mean, it'd be color guides with maps. I mean, these were just really generally nice guidebooks. Really, by this point, the 2000s, all the guidebooks were pretty generally the same. You know, they were very decent. They had, you know, cool specific fonts for the game. Like, you know, this is BioShock, so it makes it look like there's like, you know, kind of, what do you call them? Like neon letters, like the neon signs with some burnt out letters. I mean, they would take their time to make them just look a little bit nicer. But usually they would kind of come up with a general, like, concept and then cookie cutter that for the rest of the book. So you see every page kind of looks the same, sprinkled in some concept art maybe here and there, like this is the weapons section. But you know, it's still generally a decent book. This would probably be something you'd grab for like $15. You know, these guys, and at the same time around here, Prima Games was in the same boat. You'd put them side by side, they'd be very similar. But yeah, I mean, you know, once again, it's a decent company, decent books, nothing crazy. But, you know, it's something that just, you know, at this time period, I think guidebooks were like at their peak. You know, like some of the cooler ones were definitely before. But like, you know, as far as just informationally speaking and like a general good quality, this is the time period where guidebooks had their stride. Now, here is kind of an outlier. I don't know if outlier is the right word, but I want to show this off because I have a ton of these as well, especially because with guidebooks, which are becoming more and more rare, usually you go to Best Buy or something and you'll see these guys on sale very cheap when they sit around for a while, but originally this would have been expensive. But this is like the collector's edition guidebook. You know, usually they'd have a regular version and a collector's one. I don't know who made this one. Is this, it says complete official collector's edition. I don't know, but this is Cyberpunk, just as an example. And this thing is like massive. So these books are like hardback, and like I said, I have a ton of them. They come with stuff. I guess this one came with a code for like a digital version. I mean, who made this? I guess this is official from CD Projekt Red. But I mean, yeah. So when this was new, it was retail for $40 or Canadian 50. But I mean, this would be like the book, and this is like an encyclopedia. I mean, it really goes through every single side mission, every single everything, hidden gem. I mean, books like this were crazy. And, you know, almost these are more like conversation starters or shelf pieces. I mean, yeah, they're very useful book. But, I mean, it goes through weapons with stats or what you could get. I mean, it's crazy. Books like this were nuts. And like I said, very expensive. But they're cool, you know, and they're really nice. They're good to have on your shelf. You saw earlier where I panned by all my guidebooks. There is a good reason why I keep my guidebooks on the bottom shelf of my shelves, and I recommend this to anyone. You don't think about it, books are heavy, especially when you have a lot of books. And the shelves I use for my game room are the Billy bookshelves from IKEA. And although they're great bookshelves for games and stuff, I mean, they're all still just cheap IKEA particle board furniture, and they will flex under that weight. And so the bottom shelf has a third kind of little bracketed board for the base support. And that's why I put my guidebooks there, and especially when it comes to stuff like this that's really heavy, because when you get 5 of these boys lined up, your shelf is going to start flexing and T-Rexing. So, yeah, anyway, I digress. You know, once again, these are really cool books. Like I said, they're art on their own, usually really in-depth. I mean, you know, I'd say if you're a massive fan of a game and you can get one of these for cheap, awesome. But if you couldn't, you know, this probably was worth MSRP. Like, if Cyberpunk was your game, I mean, this is like a $40 like book, but it's really nice. I mean, the quality is obviously there, and a lot of these, this one doesn't, but a lot of these even have like slip covers, and I have several like that. But once again, I just kind of wanted to go over this as an example that there are also collector's edition guidebooks out there. Now, this is just kind of a little example I wanted to go over. These two books are essentially the same thing, right? Banjo-Tooie and Banjo-Tooie. This one's made by Prima. This one is made by Nintendo Power. And I mean, there's just some subtle differences, but you know, so Banjo-Tooie, right? This was I'm wanting to say it's early 2000s. I think this might not have been 90s. This might have been like 2001 or 2. But I mean, let's just kind of look at the differences, right? So, you know, it's a thin game, but it gives you detailed maps, blah, 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 blah. I mean, they tell you everything it has. But I mean, so let's just start with, this is the official from Nintendo, right? So Nintendo Power, kind of like that Mario one I showed you earlier, table of contents. But yeah, it goes through showing you all the stuff, and this is the Nintendo 64 era, so they had some time to kind of make their strides. Has map keys, so you know what everything is. And it looks like they have this really cool kind of map. This is neat, actually. Like a map of all of the levels and how they connect, and then showing you kind of some of the stuff. If you played Banjo-Tooie, there is stuff in the main overworld. But then you have like level by level. You know, each one has a big map, all the stuff you get, where do you go, what do you do, what do you need, here's some music notes there, here's a Jinjo there, and basically just, you know, some notes on how to do it. Let's see if we can find a boss guide real quick. Has to be one somewhere. Well, I mean, they go through all of the puzzle pieces. Yeah, so like right here, this was the boss, Lord Wu Fak Fak. I mean, very small blurb. Like, it really isn't much to it. I mean, look, it's just this. Blast open randomly located locker. You know, you can battle him as Banjo-Kazooie, but you'll have an easier time in submarine form. As the sub, you have unlimited ammo. That's it. I mean, that's a very short description. Not very, you know, in-depth. But this is what Nintendo Power gave you. And I mean, it goes through every single thing, and then it has the final boss. It looks like they actually have a little bit more of detailed stuff for the final boss. But if you know, this was a you know, a multi-phased final boss. But then afterwards, they have what is this? Different unlockable post-game stuff, mini games, strategy guides, multiplayer strategy guides, and yeah, I mean, pretty much that's it. So what do you get from Prima? You know, which one would have been better at the time? I like how they like literally almost have the same cover. So Prima's guide, of course, this is that time period, like Brady Games, everything was all color at that point. So Prima's guide, same thing, has a whole page on moves, for all the characters, all the stuff you can unlock. Let's try to go to that same level and see how I mean, their maps are a little bit cooler. They dedicate a whole page to it looks like. And they do the same thing. They point out all the items and what to do. Is each one of these letters... Yeah, each one of these letters is kind of a step-by-step of how to... So there's a little bit more detail, I feel like, in this one, as far as, like, how to get what. Go through... All right, so Jolly Roger's Lagoon. Let's try to find Lord Wu Fack Fack. Right here. And... So this is just as sparse. I mean, it literally says, go through the sunken locker, well, you'll see D. Jones on it, blast it inside, and then you must defeat Lord Roof. Okay, see page 100. So it does, maybe there's more to it. Because, like I said, that last one was literally just shoot him with rockets. So let's see, page 100. So okay, they have a whole section for bosses. That's kind of neat, And yeah, look, he gets like his own, like, write-up. I mean, at least 2 paragraphs worth. And it looks like they did that for all the bosses. So this is neat. I think in this case, Nintendo Power was slipping a little bit. But look, they have the multiplayer section. I don't think they have the multiplayer kind of maps drawn out. But they do have mini games. And one thing I really do like about this is they have a checklist in the back for all of the jiggies, all the Jinjos, all the moves, musical notes. You know, there's 20 along the main path of the skull. There's 20 behind the temple. And basically like a checklist. So, I wouldn't write in this, but like you could, and it's really neat. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of share a comparison between 2 similar guides and how, like, at the time, you really kind of had to pick and choose what you really wanted to have. So this is the final thing I wanted to talk about, Versus Books. Versus Books, I saved the best for last. This, to me, is my personal favorite company when it comes to making guidebooks. I would love to have like a full set of these because they're all numbered. Like this one's number 6, number 17. But these are God tier, and I'll show you in a second. This one's Ocarina of Time. I pulled out Ocarina of Time, and I pulled out Majora's Mask. I actually own 2 copies of this. This is one I bought later on to have a copy. This one is my original copy from when I was a kid. If you've watched my channel for a while, one of my favorite videos I made on here was talking about like Christmas stories. And when I got Ocarina of Time, I was really sick with like a cold. I got it for Christmas, and I couldn't play it because I was so sick. But I got the game and this guidebook, which is this guidebook. And I just remember sitting in bed like sick as hell, flipping through this thing and reading it and just being so excited and just couldn't wait to play it. But I'm going to show you why this guidebook's amazing. And also, I took care of my stuff as a kid. The reason this is so rough is I let someone borrow it and they destroyed the cover. The cover, front and back cover are completely gone, obviously. And actually, I got it back like years later. That's the weird thing. Like, I loaned it to them, forgot all about it, and then like years and years later, I was like, hey, do you have that guidebook? And like, they had this in their closet, and it was like this, and I was a little heartbroken, but that's why I got a new one. But why is Versus Books so cool? I was saying like, everything back then had color on every page and, really cool pictures and stuff. This is amazing. These books were like, talk about art. Every single guidebook has like a theme, right? This font kind of looks like an old poster. But look at each page has art, like hand-drawn art, hand-drawn maps. Look, so the Deku Tree Creaky Forest is all green and go through the dungeon. And look at the boss art. Like, it's crazy. Going through to Hyrule Castle. Now we're in the water. Everything's blue. Turning into an adult. Oh, here's another thing, too. So, like, there's sections here where it'll show Kid Link, Adult Link. And then for the rest of the book, now Adult Link is highlighted. They show you all this stuff. Look, Shadow Temple is black and red. It is just freaking amazing. These guidebooks are like God's gift to guidebooks. I love these so much. every page is literally art, hand drawn. I mean, they spent so much time. Gold Skulltula, appendix, final boss stuff. I mean, like, it's just amazing. How to get each one. Oh, here's two in Gerudo Valley. You need a hook shot. This one you need a horse and a hook shot. You need beans. You need a bottle. I mean, the Big Poe. Here's how you get them. Here's how you go, the directions you need to go to get the Big Poes to appear. It's just amazing. Amazing guidebooks. And they have a cool kind of like double page spread in the back. And I mean, you know, I brought two out just to kind of show you. Same thing here. Second verse, same as the first, but this one's just Majora's Mask. But I mean, the Snow Dungeon these are just amazing. These are beautiful books. Like I said, I would love to have a complete set of these one day. Every time I'm out and about, I keep my eyes peeled for Versus books. I think they're great. Another one I have that I didn't bring out here is Ages and Seasons, like Oracle of Ages, Oracle of Seasons, the Zelda games. And those are cool because like one cover is one and the back cover is the other, and you flip them like this, and you read one in, and you flip the other one and read the other one in. They're just amazing. But like I said, Versus books, those are my absolute favorite guidebooks, far and away. Let me know what you guys think, because I think this was like the pinnacle of guidebooks. But hey, what did you guys think? I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on when it comes to guidebooks. You know, like I said, there's a lot of variation. I did not go over nearly every weird and oddball example I have. I mean, you know, you could technically even say that like Nintendo Power Magazine counts as a guidebook because each one of them had like a little section for like a handful of games. It would be like a full game guidebook, but you kind of get what I'm saying. But let me know what you guys think down below. Is there any guidebooks that stand out to you, or any that have like really fond memories for you? Because man, I'd love to know your guys' thoughts down below. Hey, that's gonna do it for us today, guys. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't, please do. That'd be awesome. But as always, my friends, take it easy.